Hello again, and we're back for another video. So we're here to do some quotation analysis with you. I usually do 60-second quotations on Instagram, but some of the quotations cannot really be analysed in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So here goes. When you analyse a quotation, you should be trying to look at words or phrases in particular and looking at them in a bit more depth and detail. And so one way I say to go about this is to pick out the key words or phrases of a particular quotation and look at like the word class. Is it like a verb, adjective or noun, what it is? The denotation, so what the meaning of the word is, because a word can have multiple meanings. And so being able to know this is going to be helpful when you're making connotations that are more relatable to the text or to the question that you have.
Yeah.
And that will then help you to look at the effects of the words and draw it to the context. What was the writer possibly trying to, or poet trying to show us about that time, or how did he want to influence the reader?
So we're going to be looking at My Last Duchess by Robert Browning in this one. And our quote comes from right at the end of the poem, which is, "Notice Neptune though, taming a seahorse, thought a rarity, which class of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me."
So this quotation comes at the end of the poem. So he's shown the envoy the picture of his Duchess, and he's taken him down to meet his new, well, possibly his new bride, and he's shown him this statue of his gold, his bronze statue. So he ends again in the way that we kind of expect the Duke to end.
Yeah.
Still as egotistical as he was at the beginning. So let's start off with looking at the notice Neptune. Got use of alliteration there as well. Makes him sound quite elitist because the way you say it, like notice Neptune, it makes
notice Neptune.
Yeah, it sounds quite contemptuous already. So still adding to this the voice of his character.
Yeah.
In the sense, Neptune comes from, he's the Roman god of the sea and horses. And Neptune, his brothers were Jupiter and Pluto, and the three of them basically ruled.
And split into three, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the god of the sea, and he was known to have quite a violent temperament that was able to cause earthquakes and storms and things like that. Also known to be quite sexual and to go with lots of different women, regardless of they're goddesses or human or sea nymphs or whatever it was. So yeah, he was kind of the embodiment of masculinity,
Yeah.
in a sense.
And it says notice Neptune, so you've got that imperative verb as well, which he uses quite a lot of imperative verbs throughout the poem to get the Duke's personality across. So obviously it's clearly intentional. He wants everyone to, or this person to kind of see and admire his wealth as well. So yeah, just being very commanding.
And having a sense of authority within his own domain in this sense, which I think is, he didn't have that with his Duchess. She was always too busy. And that goes nicely actually to the next part, taming a seahorse. Verb taming. Taming is to domesticate an animal or make less powerful, easier to control. So metaphorically, this can be seen as a Duchess. She is the horse or seahorse that needed taming because she had her wandering eye. For example, she didn't obey him, and so like a wild animal, she had to be tamed.
But then if you actually look at the idea of a seahorse and you think about what they look like, and they're all cute and like
harmless and innocent. Yeah.
So did she need taming, or was that just him again exerting his power and showing his jealousy
and his insecurities? To be honest. Also, the fact is, well, the idea of seahorse. Earlier on in the poem, he describes how she was riding around on her white mule, and a white mule wasn't, the same as being this glorious horse. It's more known as the beast of burden. Take the burdens of people, and in that sense, it's showing that he didn't even see her as good enough or significant enough to have a horse, like him being seen as, because he sees himself as Neptune, doesn't he? By having this statue in the main part of his house. It's not like a painting like her, where she has the curtain you can open and close. This statue's there for everyone to see.
It's on display.
It's on display, so everyone can see the power and control he has of his domain. And his women in that sense. And that also can link as well the kind of sexual violence of it all by taming the seahorse. You know, as I said, Neptune was very much about, you know, having sex with or having sexual relations with different gods or goddesses or humans and things like that. And so it can also have that relation to taming a woman and the sexual violence of it, which would be apparent within Victorian society when this poem was written.
Yeah. And then the final part of that quote, cast in bronze for me, again, it's going back to that personal pronoun, back to him. He's just very selfish. He comes across as very, very selfish, and it kind of...
So egotistical.
It
all about
that.
And it's just showing as well, like by having this, the Duke is praising this kind of hyper-masculine god. And so it'll make us as a reader have more distaste for him, because he's celebrating, you know, violence and taming of women and, you know, control in that sense. And that's what I think Browning was trying to highlight. Browning was very much ahead of his time in the kind of style he was and things he was talking about. I think he was trying to highlight this, the controlling nature that men had in Victorian Britain, I think.
So he thinks he's kind of saying all the right things to kind of get the person to allow him to marry his daughter. But in terms of the reader reaction, we just would dislike him as a person. We're probably screaming at the guy, no, don't let your daughter marry him.
And the use of dramatic monologue, I think, is effective, because it's kind of for a man, because it's a male voice, he's kind of exposing the anxieties and obsessive nature of men during the time over women. You know, women were seen to have to be kind of slaves to men in the sense of doing exactly what a man or the men in their life wanted them to. And so I think Browning is trying to highlight that this shouldn't be the case, and he's criticising and highlighting it by having this male voice, the attitudes of men, but by making it set in the past, because this was the Duke of Ferrara, was it? Alphonse, so his wife died under suspicious circumstances, but so it's kind of loosely based on that, but by separating it from Victorian men, hopefully it allows people to see, because they'll be like, God, this man's a psychopath. But because it's not set in Victorian Britain, it's far enough away to
he's not like directly pointing the finger at Victorian men.
Definitely.
But we can read between the lines. We know what he's trying to say.
Exactly. So that's the quotation analysed for you. In a bit more than 60 seconds. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. If there's any kind of quotations you want us to explode, let us know. Leave it in the comment section below.
Leave us a comment. What did you get? Did you get anything that we didn't? Leave us comments below so that we can have a look-see.
Definitely.
And steal them.
And don't forget to follow Charlene on
Charlene Shaw _
and on Twitter and Facebook, on Instagram, all of that jazz.
All of it.
So until next time, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.